Strange revelations emerge on how ex-army chief died. Hello viewers and welcome to InfoGist TV. A former general officer commanding GOC, 1 Mechanized Division of the Nigerian Army, Danjuma Ali Kefi, has asked President Bola Ahmed Tinubu to investigate the death of former Chief of Army Staff Ibrahim Attahiru in a plane crash which he linked to terror financiers in the country. He also mentioned the president over his illegal arrest, detention and compulsory retirement from service for allegedly exposing how top officials were involved in terror financing during the administration of former President Muhammadu Buhari. In an interview, Mr. Ali Kefi said Mr. Tahiru, under whom he served as GOC, and 11 other military officers died in a suspicious military crash in Kaduna on the 21st May 2021. The tragic incident involved a Nigerian Air Force plane which crashed near the Kaduna International Airport amid adverse weather conditions. Mr. Tahiru was going to Zaria for a passing out parade of army recruits. Mr. Ali Kefi said the investigations of the crash was swept under the carpet as a full report of the investigation was not made known. He said the late army chief developed a strategy to end terrorism in the north, part of which was an infiltration of terror groups and the instigation of crisis among terror leaders, which resulted in the killing of Boko Haram leader Abubakar Shekau by a rival terror group, Islamic State for West African Province, ISWAP. It was also reported how Mr. Shekau was killed in a fight between his group and ISWAP. Let me put it succinctly. Late General Attahiru showed strong commitment to end the insurgency ravaging the northern parts of the country, Mr. Ali Kefi said. He explained that a crucial aspect of the strategy involved disrupting the oxygen supply to terrorism, targeting both funding and logistics, while actively pursuing the terror financiers. Mr. Ali Kefi, initially scheduled to receive the late army chief as the GOC before the plane crash, pointed to significant deviations in the plans for Mr. Tahiru's trip. This included an unexpected change in travel time, a switch in aircraft, a shift in the landing airport from a military airstrip to the Kaduna International Airport, the landing occurring in turbulence and stormy weather, and a preceding air-shattering explosion before the crash. He also highlighted the absence of a crater or impact at the crash site, emphasizing that the passengers' bodies were ejected and burnt before the aircraft descended, strongly suggesting an explosion. He said the Operation Service-wide, a presidential task force which I was commanding at the time of late General Attahiru's headship of the Nigerian Army, had as its primary mandate to dismantle the terrorism financing network in order to aid the fight against terrorism and insurgencies. Late General Attahiru appointed me as GOC IDIV while still being the commander of OSW to enable me to effectively discharge the tasks, he stated. It is important to note that OSW was not just an investigative outfit but also carried out covert operations to capture or kill insurgent leaders and key fighters in the field, destroy insurgent camps and facilities, as well as support the military and other security agencies' operations. Furthermore, having command of ID served as cover for me to carry out the tasks without attracting unnecessary attention or making people aware of the existence of the outfit. About 2,100 hours on Thursday, 20th May 2021, I spoke on the phone with the Chief of Staff, COS, to the late course regarding the impending trip to Kaduna. The following day, 21st May 2021, I had earlier spoken with the General Attahiru on the same issue. We ended our conversations on the note that the late course and entourage would come by flight at about 1000 hours the following day. About 0630 hours the following morning, I called the course to the late course to inform if their travel plan was as we discussed the night before, as I needed to make arrangements for the mosque that the course would attend Jumat, which is a Friday prayer. The COS informed me that there was a change of plan. He said after we finished speaking last night, they received a message that the late COAS was to attend a meeting either at the Honorable Minister of Defense officer or at the Presidential Villa at about 1000 hours on Friday, 21st May 2021, and that the late COS was to attend in person and not send a representative. It is important to note that the late COAS trip to Kaduna was part of his visit to Zaria to attend a personal parade at the depot NA slated for Saturday, 22nd May 2021. It is also worth knowing that the movement of service chiefs out of stations is with prior knowledge of the Chief of Defense Staff, the Honorable Minister of Defense, and the Presidency. So, why was a meeting scheduled for about the same time that the late course was to have departed for or arrived Kaduna, and why the insistence that he should not be represented? In any case, the course informed me that in view of the meeting, they would depart the Flag House, official residence of the COAS, at about 1530 hours after attending the meeting and also after the Jumo at prayers for the airport. They expected to arrive at the airport at about 1600 hours, board the aircraft at about 1610 to 1615 hours, and depart for Kaduna. At about 1600 hours, I was informed that they had arrived at the presidential wing of the airport, and I then set off from the Stallion House, official residence of the GOC, with my entourage in a convoy, and arrived at the Air Force Base at about 1615 hours. For reasons that I cannot understand till today, the flight was delayed for over an hour and did not take off until 1730 hours or thereafter. The reason for the delay, as I was informed, was that there was an issue with the aircraft that was initially assigned for the mission to convey the COAS and his entourage, and that it had been changed. Mr. Ali Kefi said they had received information that there would be heavy rainfall accompanied by a storm. Meanwhile, there was a meteorological alert that Kaduna airspace was going to experience heavy rainfall accompanied by storm Whiteshare, and it was advised already the cloud had formed in Kaduna, which was visible to us at the airport. As a matter of fact, the cloud was so thick, which was indicative of a massive storm. I began to nurse doubts about the flight. At some point, I voiced my doubts to Air Commando Iyamo and Air Commando Ilo, who were with me to receive the course. I even suggested that they should advise Abuja of weather conditions with a view to having the flight cancelled. At that point, I was informed that the aircraft was airborne at about 1745 hours. I became concerned as to whether the aircraft would be able to land at the airport in such a heavy rainfall. The rain had started falling then. Thus, I was not surprised when the Air Commando Ilo informed me that we had to go to the civil, which is the international airport, as enough runway was not long enough to enable the aircraft to land under the ultra-choice weather conditions. We then set off for the international airport, but at a snail's speed due to the heavy rainfall, which was accompanied by ice particles. He continued, when we got to the vicinity of the airport, there was a thunderous sound, which I thought was the sound of thunder. We had earlier sighted what I believed was the aircraft descending to land on the runway. When we turned to the bend to enter the tarmac, the thought on my mind was that the aircraft had touched down and was taxiing to the parking area. I couldn't see any aircraft on the runway. I frantically looked around, and by the far side of the runway there was a fireball. It was the aircraft conveying General Atahiru. We got out of the vehicle, crossed the runway, and approached the burning aircraft. Firefighters were on hand to put out the blaze. At some point, we had to pull back due to the fear of exploding cylinders. We later recovered the corpses of the 10 passengers on board the ill-fated plane. Far from where the plane wrecked was, apparently their bodies, which were on fire, were flogged from the aircraft before it came down, already in flames. Furthermore, the aircraft, or what was left of it, at least what I would recollect, was on relatively flat grassland. There was no crater. This is an indicative of a mild air explosion. So what caused the aircraft to explode? I wonder what the Air Safety and Accident Investigation Bureau report says about the incident. He further queried by asking, was the flight deliberately delayed in order to be caught up in the rainstorm? Was the aircraft sabotaged, which caused it to explode mid-air? Was the explosion caused by explosives? Was a bomb planted in the aircraft or contained in a parcel which a passenger unknowingly carried? In an earlier story extracted from an interview and published on Sunday, Mr. Ali Kefi said he was arrested, detained, and retired compulsorily from the army during Buhari's administration. He said he headed the Presidential Investigative Task Force set up by Mr. Buhari, which exposed how top officials, a top banker, and a top military brass were involved in terror financing. He said the revelation resulted in his illegal arrest and 64 days of detention in solitary confinement, where he slept on the floor with consequent health implications. According to him, while he was in prison, the former president did nothing to rescue him. His petition to President Bola Ahmed Tinubu reads, "I was the president of the Board of Inquiry with members and secretary drawn from the NCS, NIS, SSS, NIA, ONSA, NFIU, as well as from the police. The Board of Inquiry, which largely conducted its works as an investigative body, was tasked to investigate circumstances surrounding the illegal smuggling of petroleum products contained in 168 oil tankers into Benin Republic through a single smuggling route in Ilesi, Barbara, in Kwara State. The boy went further to uncover 295 oil tankers that conveyed premium motor spirit, and the major smugglers identified. Boy, according to him, made relevant discoveries about the relationship between the smuggling rackets, the terrorism bisecting the Northeast, and the banditry kidnapping for ransom, which was at its formative stage in the Northwest and part of the North Central geopolitical zones. Asserting that key terrorism financiers were linked to the individuals convicted for terror financing in UAE, Mr. Ali Kefi said trouble started when the task force became victims of unfair attacks, including starvations of fundings for its operations. This substantiates the argument that some powerful persons in and outside government, as well as from the military, were uncomfortable with the task force, and specifically my humble self as commander, he said. Mr. Ali Kefi sought reward for the pains and injuries inflicted on him during his incarcerations and approval of personal security for his safety.